Hurricane Allman is a 12-bar blues in the key of G. What we're doing here is we're taking yet another standard. Call it Stormy Monday, but Tuesday is just as bad, from T-Bone Walker. And what we're going to do, though, is follow what the Allman Brothers did. See, they were smart. They took T-Bone Walker's tune, but used Bobby Blue Bland's arrangement. If you listen closely, when Greg Allman introduces it on Live at the Fillmore East, he first says, we're going to play a Bobby Blue Bland tune. He said Bobby Bland or Bobby Blue Bland. Say that 10 times, actually really hard. But then he corrects himself and says the T-Bone Walker tune. Well, he's right in both respects because those guys were slick enough to sit there and catch a very cool voicing that actually doesn't happen until the second time around the chorus when the guys on the Bobby Blue Bland record are doing it. So what we're going to do here is follow that arrangement. But first, let's lay out the changes here in the first chorus and get ready for what we're going to be doing in the second and third chorus. So here's the first chorus. So in this 12 bar in the key of G, there's a lot of standard changes going on, but at the same time, there's a lot of, you know what? There is no standard changes going on here. Let me start that explanation again. There we go. So kicking things off using our stock voicings, we open it up with G7 here, our stock voicing based off the 6th string, bounce over to the 4 chord in the second bar. Then in bar 3, we come back to the 1, but at beat 3, we jump up to the A flat 7. What we're doing here is bouncing from 1 to 5, but as a tritone sub. It sounds a lot hipper as a tritone sub. So downbeat, B3, and then downbeat of 4, come back to the 1. Shift over to the 4 chord, bars 5 and 6. Hang out there for those 2 bars, and then bar 7 is really where you start some of the signature things that happen in this progression that sound really, really nice. A lot of fun to solo over. So what you have is the 1 and going up to its diatonic 2 chord, jumping up to a chord minor 7 based off the 3. So we have G7, A minor 7, B minor 7, and back that down to B flat minor 7. Real nice sound. You could think of it, it's the same type of vibe as a tritone sub. It's a half-step tension that resolves back down to A minor 7. So instead of it being B flat 7, it's just a B flat minor 7. So bar 9, we get to that A minor 7, still using all the stock voicings, you know, ones that only use the 1s, the 3s, and the 7s without the 5ths. We're going to bounce over here to the same position to play the C minor 7. Could have jumped up here to C minor 7, but it's kept it right there. It's a little brighter sounding. Works really well for this chord. It's a minor 4 chord against the key, and it sounds nice and bright right here. So that's what happens at bar 10. Still a drop 3 voicing. It's still a fragmented voicing with no 5. You know, 1, flat 7, and flat 3. But tone-wise, remember we started talking about that in Jones and for Trouble. Tone-wise, it just sits well right there. So in the last 2 bars, we just bounce 1-4 to 1-5 with all our stock voicings. Well, let's jump into the second chorus. Stretch things out a bit, change things around, and get us ready for the third chorus. Here we go, second chorus. So we took the 1 chord, stretched it out to a 7 add 13, went to the good old change to a dominant 9 for the 4, as we've done many times before. But when we get to bars 3 and 4, we switch back to a drop 3 voicing that has the 5th on top for the G7, 1 chord going up to its tritone sub, and to come back down. And remember, I hipped you to this fingering before. Instead of doing it like this, use the thumb for the bass note, and it just like kind of feels like an open D chord. You just grip the flat 7, 3, and 5 like that. Works out real nice, especially for a simple move like this. You know, feels comfortable. Bars 4 and 5, we just get back to that same voicing we hit in bar 2 for the 4 chord. That brings us over to, that's 5 and 6 rather. Brings us over to bars 7 and 8, where we start the climb. So 7 add 13. Then we're doing these minor 7s, these drop 3s with the 5ths on top for A minor 7 and B minor 7. And then for the B flat minor 7, I mean, that's definitely the candy chord, or one of them in here. The C minor 7 is the other one in bar 10. They had that 9 on that really brings that change out. Come down to bar 9, same voicing as we've already played for A minor 7 for the 2 chord. And here we go in bar 10. Instead of playing the 5 like we did in the first chorus, you get a minor 4 chord. And this time, kept it the same exact string setup. Put the 9 on top, just like we did for the other candy chord for B flat minor 9 in back in bar 8. And then for the 1-4, 1-5 changes in bars 11 and 12. 7 add 13. This time we're playing, we've played this before a lot of times. This is just that drop 3 fragmented stock voicing we've been doing for dominant chords. You know, 1 flat 7 3. Just kept it here, just to not do the big jump like we've done previously. You know, to get that timbre change. This time we're keeping it consistent. Want it to be nice and homogenized, so to speak, at least sonically. So G7 add 13, bounce to the 4, back to the 1, and then that really, really tasty augmented chord that you hear those guys drop all the time on the Live at Fillmore East. So it's a D augmented, straight up close voicing. 1-3, sharp 5 with a 1 on top. I know I've said before I'm not crazy about the same note being on top and bottom, but for this chord it sounds great. And it works out real nice. Let's go to the 3rd chorus. We're going to shrink the voicings. We've done this before. We're going to keep them basically on the 4-3-2 string set. And make some movements with sharp 4 diminished. We're going to bring that into the fold. So let's do it. Let's see what it sounds like. So the voicings got reduced down to 3-note voicings almost throughout the whole progression. So we took our 7 add 13 and we dumped it down to just being the one that we played in the second chorus. We dumped it down to being just a G7. So we have F, B, D. So a little fragment of G7 with the flat 7 on the bottom. Now, in the second bar, we jump over to this voicing. Right here, we have the flat 7 and the 1 and the 3 on top. We have that major second down at the bottom. We first saw this in Fordward. Very cool voicing. And as we see the sharp 4 diminished in the chart, all we got to do is raise the root a half step. But this time the root is in the middle instead of being on the bottom. But it's the same deal. Just raise the root up a half step. That's real nice because all you got to do is bring that up a half step, and this chord becomes a G7 over B. So here's a 3, 5, flat 7. You know, dominant chords and as you can see, dominant chords and diminished chords are right next to each other. So it's no coincidence that you can get some cool tricks like this, where you come off a C sharp diminished 7 over B flat, which becomes a G7 over B. Works out real well. Now that F on the top plays nice to be the common tone of the tritone sub that you need to have in B3 and bar 3. And then bring that back down to resolve the 1. Get you out of the first 4 bars. When you jump over to the next 4, bar 5, we're going to use that forward voiced 7 again, C7 with the B flat on the bottom. Bounce that root back up again to get sharp 4 diminished, and then we're going to take advantage of the symmetrical aspect. And that's what we got going on over here. We have our movement, which sets us up real nice to get back to G7 over F. And then we'll do the walk. We're going to take those minor 7s we played in the second chorus and just chop the roots off. And yes, if you're triad perceptive, I'm playing C over G. That's the piece that is inside a drop 3 A minor 7 in the root position. So I'm playing these pieces here for A minor 7, B minor 7, B flat minor 7. Now we're going to change things up here in bar 9. We're going to go into a stacked 4, you know, a succession of 4s. We've seen these before too. We're going to play a root position, A minor 7, add 4, and then in Allman Brothers fashion, we're going to back it up a half step and then walk it up, succession of half steps till we get to C minor 7, add 4, up here at the 10th position. And then from there, for our bounce from 1 to 4, 1 to 5, we go down to a chopped up piece of the G7 add 13. See, it's the same thing here without the root. And just like we did this, remember with back here in bar 2 going into bar 3, where we took the diminished 7 into the dominant chord, we're going to take the 7 add 13 and back it up, and now it's a 7 sharp 9, a C7 sharp 9. See? So you just... That's the coolest voice leading you can get, is when you get the same interval structure, but it changes into a different chord quality. And the bass is, you know, what it's tying it all in. You know, so we got Steve Jenkins back there making our fragments sound correct. So G7 add 13, down to C7 sharp 9, both in their inverted positions. This is a third inversion. This is a first inversion back here, and then a first inversion de-augmented with the F sharp on the bottom. There's that sharp 5 to make it sound as good as it should. Throughout Jonesing for Trouble, Worrywart, now Hurricane Allman, you have some very cool options into bringing some old blues standards into maybe a more modern sounding feel. Well, what we're going to do now is check out a concept that we've been toying with some other previous progressions, but now we're going to get right into it. We're going to check out backcycling in a progression called backpedaling. So let's go over to that.